Yo, welcome to the Spiritual Speakeasy, where the spirits are always served all time and day and night. And I totally blew that intro, and that's okay. It's been one of those nights. Tonight we have Norma, who's a sanguine alchemist, and I hope you guys have lots of questions for her because that's not something you see around this area at all. Welcome, Norma. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. And
Yes, this is so cool
walking
to get to
in
share this.
oh,
You're good.
uh, knowing that, whoever is meant to hear it from me will hear it tonight.
Yes, yes, and we can share it. Feel free. You can go to any of the formats and flip and share at any time, and they stay up on all the formats for a while, so everybody has a chance to get on and interact with that as well.
Oh,
So
right on.
tell us, first of all, some people don't know what the word sanguine means, so let's break it down. Sanguine means
Blood. Just as simple as can be is blood.
very good, very good. And alchemy is, by your definition, what?
Me, is the alchemizing, the transmuting, the mending, the integrating um our our blood and our ancestral ties in that.
And more has come out about that. Like you'll see things on TikTok about cleaning up our DNA and our RNA and the vibration, because our blood vibrates at certain vibrations for different illnesses and different stages of wellness and different things. So how do you do alchemy on blood?
Okay. We're just get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
um Essentially, it is connecting with and going into um, the ether, the astral, the third eye realm, and seeing the different parts of a person and their pattern. And because this person has not only had their own several lifetimes, right? I mean, in my belief, or
Mm-hmm.
what I have experienced, is that they have also lived in their own bloodline.
I
And
would agree with
so
that.
it's like going to like this space and simply smoothing the phrase rather than cutting the phrase, because those patterns and the karma, because I mean, honestly, all of our ancestors have racked up some sort of karma, right? And I mean, we
Sure,
do as
sure.
well. And it's integrating that so that it is still serving a purpose, but no longer affecting the life now.
Right, right.
And so, and then the intention of, um, so that is the actual down and gritty, like, um, uh, transmutation and alchemizing of it. Since, uh, well, now I know that the experience of if someone else is a phlebotomist and draws the blood, um, it's not as strong of a connection as doing it myself.
That would make
And
sense because
it's
something's
like,
lost.
yeah. And it's like this huge download, like as it's happening, where it's like all this, where I can't even, I couldn't even like speak on it because it was so much at once. And then it's like, I'm like, okay, cool. Here we are. This is what we're doing.
No, that makes
And
absolute sense to me though, because it's much like for me, for my hi Julie, hi Cheryl. We have people popping down now.
oh,
Um, when I do my bone readings, it takes me having to hear their name 3 times from them, and people don't understand that connection. If somebody says, well, the birth name for this person is so and so and their birth date is so and so, it doesn't click. That chain of events, that cosmic thread doesn't show up for me at all. But when they speak their own name, with them speaking their own name attaches that. So, I mean, I can do that through computer, I can do that through a telephone, but they have to be the ones to speak it. I can't tie it in otherwise.
Yeah.
So that would make sense. And the hands on drawing the blood would initiate that bond. It's very much like Reiki, going in and
Yeah.
fixing those ether cords, the strings, the weavings.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And it's like I've just been shown deeper and deeper as continuing.
So what
And
do
that, I
you
mean,
do?
for me,
So what do you do with the blood after you draw the blood of the person? What do you do? Do you read it? Hi, Barbara.
in a sense, I um burn incense, and I have like a sterile sacred space that I have made. Um, I sit with it. I mean, on, in its special container. Um, and I wait for the message to come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I go through this mending, right? And I write the incantation and anything else, or the intention and anything else that comes up through that on paper. And that is that, and if they choose to have an amulet, runes, etc., that all goes back to the person.
So I should tell the viewers here, one of the things that Norma does is she comes to shows, and she does this privately as well, is she takes clients and she does a blood collection system, phlebotomy, through clean, hospital technique. I'm not going to say sterile, because even hospital technique is not sterile, but you try to get as clean and sterile as you can.
Hmm.
She collects the blood, and then she makes blood jewelry. She makes blood ruins. You've done blood paintings.
Yep.
So is
Hmm.
there anything that really, as long as you can mix it down with a medium, whether it be in a stone or in a acrylic type of fashion, is there anything you can't make with it?
No, and actually, I have added something um to my, it's, to me, it's like a bonus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is I powder it, grind it down, and give it as a blush.
Oh, wow.
That way, okay, when using it as a blush, it it allows you to shine and to show up in your authentic self without the need of competition.
Oh, that's a neat idea. Yeah.
And how it just, because it just reconnects and empowers us within. We're bringing the power of, or the energy, etc., from way out here back into here.
Mm-hmm.
And when we do that, there are no more threats. And so, like, there's no need for like that competition, because we're all gonna thrive.
That's true. That's true. And it's kind of like doing your own, from a witchy point of view. It's almost like doing your own glamour spell. I mean, I am enough. I don't need anything else. I don't need to buy into things. I don't need products that the media promotes as making me healthier or more beautiful. The beauty comes from within, literally. It came from my own life source, my own soul source.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how long does a tube of blood last as something like that?
That's a great question.
What if only I would ask something like that? I'm just curious. I just was curious. It's the first thing I thought of, is, I guess, until it's gone, and you could mix it
Yeah.
down with something else too.
Yeah. Because whenever I use it, I use intention oils, on my cheeks, and then I will powder it on.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, you could even mix it with the oil or have it harden, or, I've experimented with different makeups and uh, skincare creams and stuff.
Sure.
I just wanted, I like the rawness of it.
Yes. Well, yeah,
Like
you
the
don't get much more
pure,
raw than your own blood. I mean,
yeah. And
this is
it's,
strange for some people. Be
yeah,
open. Think about this.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it is. And, you know, I guess it's interesting because of how much I have integrated into my life that I forget that it takes others off guard. You know, I forget that it's like, oh, wait, hold on. Um, Let me say
Well,
more.
what we do does that. No, what we do does that because we have to be out of the box. Hi, Tanya. Tanya's here from the Language of Magic. So, does anybody have any questions so far? Because we're going to continue this. So, it's very strange going in public. How I met Norma was we were at a fair, Enchanted. What it was Enchanted
Mhm.
Magic and the Mystics, Metaphysical and Mystic Fair in Arkansas, and I had never been to a place where anybody made anything blood. And as a nurse, to me, that was like, first of all, it was very, very weird. It was like, oh, this is like really like out of the box. Like it's so strange.
Yeah,
Tanya says, from a linguistic point of view, written in blood. Yes, I mean, you do that, and she mixes bloods too. So like if you have a spouse or a child or somebody like that you want your blood mixed with for whatever source, your ruins, your jewelry, whatever, she will make that for you as well. Which is,
mhm.
I have a set of ruins that I'm just fascinated with, and they're very powerful, they're very strong. I'm not sure anybody else would see that because that's my blood, they were made for me.
Yeah. Okay. Will you tell me more, if you don't mind, about your experience?
It's being totally connected with a source of I already. Oh, somebody just popped on, roaming gal too. Hi Norma, I have an appointment with you Saturday. Awesome.
Hi, hi,
Awesome.
hi.
Hi Carol. Um, yes, Tanya said she's also a client and she's had amazing alignment results. Um,
Oh
so
gosh.
so
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's just something about them when I hold them. First of all, ruins. I mean, it's kind of like holding a deck of tarot cards. There's always going to be a vibe. You're going to like the pretty pictures. You're going to like the colors. You're going to maybe like the vibe of the deck, not just the artwork, but the actual physical vibration that you feel when you hold the deck. Um, those ruins have a different vibration to them. They're not like picking up. I have ruins that have been carved on wood and I love them. They're very cool ruins. They're not part of me. And me recognizes that part of me when I pick them up. That would be the only way that I can create that mental image of when I pick them up, it's like, oh, this is me. Like it
Yeah.
recognizes, and it's an initial contact right there. It's not
Mm.
something that I have to wait on to go into that space and find that contact for that night or that day that I'm reading. It's just right there.
Oh,
It's
that's
it's so much more
fantastic.
powerful. Yeah. And other people are just like, oh, those are cool ruins. They're acrylic ruins. They don't get it, which is fine. They don't need to get it
Right.
because they're not for
Right.
them. They're not for them. And for those
Right.
readers out there, how many times have you had somebody reach over and pick something up off your table? I can't tell you how many times with my bones I've had customers go, "Oh, look at this. What is this?" Excuse me, it says readings. You don't touch
Yeah.
other people's things. So I
Yeah.
don't feel like with the bones they get in it, or with the ruins they don't get anything from it. It's
Yeah.
almost like it's trapped in there, and it has to be my hand to feel
Yeah. Yeah.
that
I mean, it
vibration.
is like such a personal experience. I mean,
Very.
with like mine, it's like this, yes, like this connection of, and it's like knowing that this isn't going to be a fluffed message.
No.
Like, like these ones will
Mm,
tell me exactly as I need to hear, even though I don't necessarily want to hear it all the time.
right.
And
It's
that's
also
like,
not linear. It's also
yeah,
not linear because if you believe in past life experiences, I think it transmutes those lines that we've put on the constraints we have as humans, where we make our own time constraints. I mean, time and space for other beings doesn't seem to flow like it does for us. We put ourselves in this straight line box that everything is. And I think when you start working with your blood, I can't speak of other people's blood except for I have drawn people's blood, being a nurse. But there's something about that source that's like a lifetime, more than like
Mm-hmm.
a person's full lifetime. Let me reword that: the soul's lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
not the person, human body, not lifetime, but the soul's lifetime.
Yeah. And that is like all the DNA mutations and adaptations from our ancestors, from their experiences. And like,
Sure.
we think about like women, I mean, specifically, right? Is that, well, really, yeah, well, we'll say women for now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is that feminine bloodline is so strong because whenever our grandmothers had our mothers in their womb, she had all of her eggs. Each
That's
baby,
true.
and so we are automatically ingrained with the experiences of our grandmothers and those patterns. And whatever we can do to keep us safe, which because we're no longer in that experience, because then becomes harmful for us now.
Mm-hmm.
And how it blows my mind. And I'm like, that makes so much sense when I look at my own life and
Yeah,
how
that makes total
things,
sense. When you put it in perspective like that, it really does make total sense.
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions? I'm giving you the opportunity to ask questions of Norma. So Norma also is an artist. She lives on a farm. She has many, many animals and kids and the whole farm experience and you do art in other forms as well, correct?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
painting. Yeah. And then, life,
Hmm.
keeping things alive. And
So
to
we
me, that's an art form.
Yes, it is. It is. You plant, you have gardens, you do all kinds of things like that. Harmony of sense. Yes, that's a good way to word it. Harmony of sense. Hallie says a jack of all trades. Hi, Hallie.
That's for
You
sure.
do
That's,
minstrel art, which is very
yeah.
unusual.
Yeah.
Not as unusual as people would think if you've not experienced that, because there's a lot of very deep metaphysical workers that work with their menstrual fluids and do not only artwork but help heal people through that or heal their own families through that.
Yes. And about helping, being a fertility goddess and helping women heal themselves through their menstrual blood,
Mm-hmm.
and through reconnecting with themselves and dismantling and rebuilding these programming and like deep rooted feelings and etc., right, just from society, and remembering who we are,
Which is
coming back to
important.
ourselves. Yes, yes.
Very
And it was
important.
like for um every painting I have my setup. I have like my cute little bowl I use, same bowl every time. And I'm like in the middle of it and I'm listening to my music and I'm feeling everything out. And it's like I zoom out and everyone, it's like it comes in and I'm like, what are you doing right now? Like, what am I doing? Like, this is wild. This is so gross. Like, what is this? And then it's like, and then it's like, oh yeah, like that's what I'm healing. Okay, like that's what I'm feeling through. And it's such an interesting experience.
So you help heal clients through this form of art as well.
Yeah.
Mediumship. I mean, it really is a form of mediumship. You just work with the body fluids, primarily blood,
Hmm.
and not other formats.
Yeah. And like sharing with others how they can do it, how
So
they
you do,
can.
do you teach classes, or do you take people on privately to do those things?
Both. I'll be teaching a workshop, an introductory workshop in Dallas in a couple of weeks at the Wellness
What?
Expo.
Yay!
Yeah. And I'm gonna be teaching one on digital soul space, hopefully very soon. And yes, yeah, I hope to be.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
thank
Carol
you, thank
says,
you.
do you feel that a person who is having troubles with getting pregnant has something to do with what's happening in their psyche?
I mean, it very well could be. Our psyche does kind of create our whole world. And
Yes, it does.
so
Our
if that's something, yeah, that's going on there, most definitely affecting it. Especially like stored emotions. Um, the body keeps score. And
yes,
that's
it does.
also one of the generational ones of wounds your grandmother experienced.
Mm-hmm.
You could have the repercussions of and not even realize that it's not yours.
Well, and most people don't, wouldn't you say? I
I
mean,
mean,
most
yeah,
people don't realize that some of the stuff that they're going through, they may not have even created. It may have been way past generations of even other lifetimes.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
this country particularly is such a restricted thought. Foraged and found. Hi, we're happy to have you here too.
Hi, Samantha.
Welcome. I really, my count is done. I'm just in my head. I'm like, I've said like 100 times. I think, gosh, like, how do I want to articulate this? Taboo. There are so many
Hmm.
subjects that are taboo in the United States that other countries, it's openly brought up in media, it's openly brought up in women's groups, men's groups, schools,
And
everything. It's just,
valued.
yes, valued and accepted.
Yes, yes.
And in our country, it's like, a tampon commercial comes on and people cringe because that just came on when you're sitting around the TV and you've got a, male female group of people,
Hmm.
mixed company as we would call it. You've got all different kinds of people there, and everybody just kind of looks at each other and they're like, that's awkward. Well, it shouldn't be awkward. I
Right,
mean, that's
right.
normal human function. It shouldn't be awkward.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
so people don't want to talk about menstrual cycles, and they don't want to talk about blood, and some people can't talk about blood. It's one of those weird things that some people you mention blood to and they turn white as a sheet and they pass out.
yeah, which is also very interesting
trauma
to me.
trauma
Yeah,
based
yes,
trauma based
yes. And a complete disconnection from, well, not a complete, but a spiritual disconnection from that life force.
which always has made me wonder if those people in a past life maybe were killed and bled out, or died
Hmm.
and bled out in such a way that when their soul left, it completely terrorized them. So that was
Yes.
that nobody in the soul line sat them down and said, hey, sometimes that happens.
Yeah.
Don't be traumatized by that. That was just the way that you died. It doesn't mean that because you get a paper cut, you're going to die again.
Right. Right. And now they're just here winging it. Like,
Right. And they're terrified every
yeah.
time they see it. It's like that whole death thing again. Tanya
Yeah.
says, I've helped many women as they retell me their first moon time. Conception story, moon time stories hold the base language of all women, or of the women. Yes. What do you two into or channel when you work with, what do you, what, I think she meant, what do you tune into or channel when you work with blood? Tap into. Yep. Archie Curry wants to know.
The ether, the astral, listening to rhythmic music helps me go, if that makes sense.
It forms that connection. It's a vibration thing. It's a vibratory thing.
Yeah, and it's like meeting it in a completely safe, sacred space. And it's the state of being awake and not at the same time.
That twilight, the veil has lifted and you're walking into that interdimensional area.
Yeah, and like with eyes open, it's like seeing two screens overlapping.
Yeah.
Where it's like those like transparent pages and you just like lap them and it like creates a picture, and then that's what it looks like.
Yeah, Carol says she never looked at seeing blood and getting dizzy as something that could have happened in the past. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you go back, the further you go back, depending on what your DNA is and how far back your lineage can be traced, you're getting into whole cultures of things too. The cultures of what blood was within that culture and how they saw blood, depending on what kind of work you did, what kind of job you held, what kind of childbirths you had. Women who've had childbirth and have bled out in old times, that's traumatic. That's a soul trauma that again, we none of us know really for sure what's coming, but there's not like counselors up there, I don't think, that help these people get through these traumatic events, or we wouldn't have so many traumatic people.
Yeah.
And past life trauma. Hi, Damien.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it just makes you wonder. Because some people are squeamish. You can't talk about blood, which for somebody like you becomes very difficult, because obviously they wouldn't be drawn to someone that can do what you do, because that wouldn't be something they'd want to sit and talk about.
Right. And I mean, as long as, if we were meant to connect, if they were meant to come see me in that manner, they would.
For sure.
And so I feel like it's all divinely guided, if you will, right?
Sure.
Where it's like, as long as I am following like that little inkling or nudge, it's like everything goes so smoothly. And so, and just like allowing that to like flow has opened up a lot for me.
Carol said more shadow work. Yes, and the people that approach you are doing that. I mean, I think when you walk up to a table or a booth or a tent in a weekend fair, I think when somebody says to you, so what is it you do? There's blood involved. What do you do? Their wheels are clicking. Those shadows are working. They're coming out. Especially at the shows, because most people attend metaphysical shows to find that kind of thing. I mean, you're trying to work on something or find something you're missing or anything like that. Damien, you're funny. Forged and Found says you've been blessed to witness this. Absolutely. And firsthand for me. So if it's something you haven't done, well, firsthand for Tanya, the language of magic. And you've got another client that's on here that's gonna soon find out how it works. It's very cool. How squeamish are the people that sign up for your menstrual paintings and your blood work classes? Do you ever have someone that get there and they go, I can't do this. I can't. This is not.
So far, no.
Good. So people have done some research coming in, and or you've answered questions and
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, before the as I'm growing, right?
Mhm.
Um, before the actual blood draw, it's creating the space, right? So cleansing the air, bring the incense, we go through the form together, draw some cards, set some intentions, etc. before and while the blood is being drawn, and then it being closed afterwards. And so it's like this deeper practice each time. And like my goal is if someone doesn't feel comfortable or if it doesn't feel right, to listen. And so usually whenever that person gets there or whenever they do, they've already came to the like I'm ready for this
Mhm.
part. More so than like I'm ready than like, oh, I'm just kidding, you know?
JK,
They're like, oh, like
JK.
we're in it. Like we're in it. And I'm like, we can go as surface level or as deep as you'd like.
So Archie asked, does this time of year influence either of your practices or change things for you?
Hmm.
That's a very good question with it being winter solstice and putting things
Mm-hmm.
to rest. Yule. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a quieter, yet I have felt the leaves falling and I have allowed myself more restful sleep. But also, it's like that moving like slower, but still being like oddly productive. And looking at the seeds to plant this spring and feeling that out.
Damien wants to know if blood scrying, does a blood type have more effects? Are there certain types that are more maybe active, or you can read better, or have more intense lines, family lines, or
Not that I have seen, but I do know that emotion changes the color of it.
yes, diet, exercise, emotions all change the color of blood.
And it's like on like a daily. Um, I've like tracked days that I have been angry and days I have been happy. And the one painting that people kind of look at it a little weird is one that I used just angry blood. Like I was just raging. And I'm like, and I'm releasing all of this. And I find it interesting.
And people just onlookers, and people just viewing that painting were able to see that there was something different within that painting, I guess vibration wise.
Yeah. Like the last Enchanted that I had my paintings there. The lady, she's like, um, she was the booth next to us, and she's like, I love that painting. She's like, there is something different about that one. And I'm like, yeah, and I don't tell people, like right away unless they ask. And I'm like, that is so funny you say that because
Mm-hmm.
that is like all of this rage just right there. And
So you're not
it did.
only using the vibration of the body fluid, the blood within you to convey that, because of course the blood has its own vibration,
Mhm.
as does every organ, every system in our body. But then you're conveying your emotions, you're putting that out and channeling that onto the screen, your canvas as well. So to me that would be like huge,
Yeah,
and
it's
how personal too.
yeah, yeah. And so with each of them, I essentially do like a cord cutting or disconnection with them when I'm ready for them to serve their purpose elsewhere. Because the power of blood is so strong, right? It's such a intense elixir, okay? That
Ooh, I like that. I like the way that
whenever,
sounds.
me too, I do, is that whenever you have it in your space, that essence is like a Himalayan salt lamp, okay? It just radiates, okay? But whenever we are exposed to blood or we see blood, right, we understand the weight of it, the value of it, like the importance of it, right? It's like
Yes.
truly understand like that life and death moment. And so it's that confidence, like I said earlier, of like it brings that calming, authentic, comfort energy to your space. I probably got lost in
So,
there. I
no,
apologize.
that was great. So I'm thinking you said cord cutting, like if someone were to buy your art from you
Mm-hmm.
that's made with your blood,
Mm-hmm.
do you cut the cord then with it because it's going into their space and that's a part of you that's going into their space?
Yes. Yes. And I don't want the energy pull.
Because there would
Don't
be,
want- Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
There
And I
would be. It's
mean,
a thread.
yes. And then that person could, I mean, this is why I seal them with epoxy and such, is because to protect my essence in every way while still sharing that
Hmm.
energy, while still sharing that frequency to be in their environment. But I also have them priced where, because I do know the importance, and actually I had someone walk up to me and they said, "How much are these?" I told them the price and they said, "Dang, I was really hoping that you didn't know what you had." And I'm like, "Thank you."
Because they did.
Because they did.
Hmm.
And so I know that the person that they will go to, or that, the right person will have whatever is needed for them. And then it will be for the grace and highest good rather than ill intent.
Because there are people out there that use, and I have to say this again because everybody who watches and views our shows, not everybody's a metaphysical person. So first of all, energy always comes with a price. Energy, essence of
Mhm.
ourselves, whatever you want to call it. Um, Anytime we put ourselves into healing something or scrying something or tapping into someone, there's a price tag for that because energy is never just exchanged in a business that way.
Exactly.
And the other thing is there are people out there that would use that blood work to do things that they should not do,
Yes.
because there's a lot of people out there that would use that to work other people, to work other souls. There's all kinds of different religions and spiritualities that would take her work and do work in her name using her body fluids, and it would be tagged to her and not other people's work.
Yeah.
Damien
Yeah.
says
And
so it's
like,
kind of a,
oh,
oh, go
I've lost it. It's good.
ahead. Damien says it's a kind of a creative release, but would that negativity be held or given off pay the image, or does perception change from person to person?
I think the perception does change person to person,
Hmm.
although for like example, um like the angry painting, okay? Like where's that anger raw energy? See, that
Hmm.
would be what that person needed to release onto canvas, okay? So like that, whoever it belongs to will feel that energy and will correspond with it, the releasing of their anger, right? So it's like a backboard for that. And
Hmm.
allowing that anger to go somewhere else rather than in them. rather than buried deep, like.
Well, you see the vibratory or the painting represents the pathways of that release.
Mm-hmm.
So when they go, I feel so good when I'm around this. I feel so calm. I feel so able to breathe and not as tense, then that painting is serving its purpose to move that energy on with the line flow and with the vibration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damien says, do you have more connection from paper to canvas for the images, or does the image match the material before you start? That's a good question. Very good question.
It is really okay. The image comes, the outline, tied to the emotion, right? Like I'll be feeling whatever, like emotion, right? Or what a theme that has been coming up a lot in my life that I've been addressing. And I'm like, okay, I understand this. I'm ready like to release this. Okay. For example, my grieving moon painting. Okay. Because she grieves for us, but she cannot help us because of the pain. And so instead she gives her tears as sustenance because we have to go through the experience. Okay. And so it was like I knew that that's what I was processing and like going through, was like understanding I could not help everyone. I couldn't just do it for them. I couldn't just fix it, even though it was hard seeing them suffer in a sense, right? And so
Right.
then I started. And I started with the moon and then I let it all flow. And I didn't know what it was going to look like when it was done.
That's really interesting how that works out. Archie wants to know, have you just painted with blood or mixed it with other mediums like clay?
Also with resin, with powdering, resin as in like for resin divination tools or resin infused, and I actually use it as a liquid and as like a powder or a solid because it adds like these speckles, or they look sparkly to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the sparkle of like our own blood, like our own life force. Okay. And yeah, I've never mixed it with clay though. But yeah,
That would
resin.
be interesting.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to.
You're going to have to
Uh,
play with that now.
yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Kara. Yeah, the grieving, that did not come out. That was like a whole smish pot of sounds and not words. The grieving moon is a beautiful piece. It is an absolutely beautiful piece.
She is like
Queen,
my most commented on, and I love her.
well,
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
affects people. I think you see it and you feel the emotions and you feel the because we've all had that time in our lives when we've needed or wanted to help someone and not been able to.
yeah,
Whether that's because of our own inadequacies or them not wanting the help or it's just out of our hands. And I think that painting particularly like makes that bond that we feel ourselves. We identify with it in our own space
mhm,
and time. Everyone can identify with that.
yeah, yes. And she was like the longest to paint. It was like a full 7 days every day.
Oh wow.
And then I look at it and I'm like, what? But it was so much layered in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it's sometimes she is not a forgiving medium. Like you mess up, like whoops, sorry.
Right.
And I mean, I started using my menstrual cycle and paintings in 2021, and I had just started attempting to paint January of 2021. And I laugh because, I mean, I find it funny, because now I'm like, anything that I paint with any other material, any other medium, looks like trash. Like, I'm like, this is not good.
Does it really look like trash or is it just something you haven't bonded with?
Maybe I haven't bonded with, but I mean, I'm really not being harsh on myself. I'm usually pretty forgiving with myself. And so if I'm like, it's bad, it's like, it's bad.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. Do you do paintings for other people with their menstrual cycles?
Yeah.
Or-
Hmm.
So is it more like the channeling, the artwork, seeing the inner spirit, going into that ether and seeing what walks with them or the message that they're supposed to give you channel through that medium?
Yeah. They're personalized creed.
Mm-hmm.
Their personalized boost. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
some people would
Hmm.
ask, how do you do that safely?
Um, I wear gloves. I mean, thankfully, it's not a messy, um, it's not a messy experience, and I put plastic under everything. I wipe everything down. I use um, new brushes, new containers or cups each time. Um, because even if they're washed, it's like still the lingering of
Sure.
someone's soul essence, and knowing that like ties are possible, that I'm not going to chance that. Like that is something that I take. The hygiene of it is very important to me.
Yes. Well, and I would think energy wise too, because that is your life source. I mean, you're going
Yeah,
straight to the life source of that person. That to me would be so intense working with something out of a medical facility, because like I said, I've drawn blood, I've worked with people's blood, I've worked with people bleeding out, did not have that same connection, but again, was not trying to obtain that connection with them.
yeah,
In the
yeah.
healthcare setting, we're not trying to tap into that person's essence when we're drawing that tube of blood for, medication levels or, whatever it is we're tapping into. That's not our intention to do that.
Right,
So I can honestly say I've not tapped in that way to blood, but you also can't be squeamish about it either. You
right.
know, you
And
dip
to
in
me,
and you've got to feel something.
yeah, like to me, it's um when when it is drawn and I'm working with it, then I have full permission to connect with someone's energy and to their energy. Whereas, like at these events and stuff, I stay zipped up until a person walks in because I'm like, I don't want to read your stuff without you saying I can read your stuff because that's not my business. And
Hmm.
so I keep that pretty tight because then I just feel uncomfortable sometimes by it, right? And
Hmm.
so I open it when I'm ready. And so it's like when I am in that experience, I'm able to fully connect and channel whatever is coming from that without feeling like I'm invading.
Oh, for
Okay.
sure. Damien wants to know, do you feel the energy from someone else's and create from there, or do you know some of their life stories and incorporate that?
Um, a lot is I feel into someone's energy unless they personally want their life stories. Because to me, life stories, um, there are certain topics that are repeated, right?
Hmm.
And so
Yes.
it's like the patterns of it. And so it's like the energy feels different or more concise than explicitly showing that pattern, because like that pattern isn't the important part. The important part is the energy of it and moving forward or integrating it, incorporating it to be valuable and useful.
Right. Well, and Damien, if you were to see her questionnaire, it's not like a one-page checklist before you get a tattoo for real. This thing is a thick, it's like a fucking booklet. Like she's asking questions about things and how you feel about certain things and do you understand certain things. It's a really good dialogue that goes on with her. as she's getting to know you as a client without having to ask personal questions in a non-controlled environment like a fair where people are coming up constantly and they're interrupting conversations and they're hugging you and they're taking pictures of you in your booth and things like that. It's a way that she can quietly review what your answers are in a very public, loud place.
Yes. And I feel like the writing of it is
Mm-hmm.
important. Like it's the actual writing of it. Because even though I will write in your blood for you to write those intentions to begin with, I mean, that's like where it begins because then it's like this deeper connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not filtered, right? Like,
And that's a big thing because you're going from the get-go. You're getting their story in writing. You're getting that, like Tanya said, written in blood. You're getting that whole vibration set up for that experience.
yeah. And like if we need to tweak something because it doesn't feel quite right, we're also able to do that. And then I know without question all of the answers. Like,
Because it's right there.
yes. And so that is for you.
That's wonderful. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Tanya, the writing is uber sacred. It is. It's, because they're writing out their story and the words they choose and how they write it and the emotions that go into the actual script of the way they write and the whole package deal. It's a pretty sacred experience too. And when you receive the products that she makes or you see the artwork she does, there is a connection there and there is it is powerful. It's extremely powerful because when you stop and think, blood is it's our life force. I mean, you don't live without blood and oxygen. We're not going to make it without either one of those, and you have to have the blood to carry the oxygen. So it's the most important thing out there to keep us going. And you've
Yeah.
chosen to work with that, which is crazy. Do you ever dip into someone's blood and go into a frenzy?
No, I haven't. I have transmuted their patterns before.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a frenzy.
Lust? You hear of bloodlust?
Yes, I have heard of bloodlust. Bloodlust is the point where um the the fool on the journey decides whether they'll be a hero or a villain.
That is such a descriptive way. Wow.
That is the moment of and I feel like for those initiated into working with blood, they've all had that moment and was like, holy shit, what am I gonna choose? And then you have an experience where it's like, oh, yeah, that's right. No, thank you.
Right.
That's not for
And
me.
again, explain what that's like for people. Sorry, sitting up in my chair. What that's like for people who are not. Anytime you play with anyone's energy of any kind, whether it be body fluids or energy, there are connections, attachments, and energies that are shared.
hmm Okay, so this
just
is
just like energy vampires and things like that, people get into energy fields and they share it with everyone and they want, they take it from everyone. My bad, they don't share it, they take it from everyone. Blood is very much the same.
hmm
And that craving, because blood is one of those sources, like we said at the beginning, you can do multiple things with, good or bad. It's
yeah.
power.
And it was with my own blood. And this was 3 years ago, 4 years ago. It was very early. And it was just with my own and I had seen videos or yada yada, right? And because of that, because I just had the thought, just the idea. And thankfully I'm a person who waits to act. I like to feel, wait a while. I'm not too rushy, I'm not too impulsive. And then I had a stalker and someone
Ooh.
who wanted to act like a advisor to me and use their authority, their gifts as a way to push their own ulterior motives onto me. And
Wow.
it was like through that I'm like, okay, that's why you don't do that. Okay, that's why I didn't act on that, because it would be like this, but tenfold, right? Like to
Sure.
the extreme. But it was like just that small experience. And I mean, it wasn't a small experience, but in the gist of things, what it could have been is a very small experience. Having that was enough that I chose the pure intent, loving, healing road. Although never mind, we won't talk about heroes and villains. Never mind, disregard.
Cancel. It is a
I'm
very
like, what's
intense
up?
experience. And think about, your groupies, because you have those of us that are in paranormal, you have paranormal groupies. You have experiences in metaphysics. There are metaphysical groupies. There are people that will come in and the sprays that I use, like at booths, where constantly people will walk by and they hang out and they ear hustle and they watch you, and pretty soon you're realizing they're not just like hanging out because they don't have anything to do all day, and it's they come to soak up energies. People come
Yes,
out to shows to soak up other people's energies too, as well. Not everyone, but there is that significant
yeah,
number, and they'll be hanging out at your table, they'll hang out at your booth, and they start watching you, and you go to the bathroom and they show up in the bathroom, and you go get something to drink and they show up there, and you start watching them, and they're like psychic vampires. They run around literally, and they're stealing your essence. They're trying to make themselves feel better and boost themselves with your energy. Blood would have its own form of groupies. You're getting into a whole different type
right,
of groupie. Hi.
right. And there's like this misconception or this attempted grouping of um sanguine alchemy and ancestral blood healing versus vampirism. But that is a spiritual practice, not to be confused with what I am doing. And not that I have any feeling towards it, just that it's not an accurate description. But see, like, it's something that's so not necessarily talked about that when we don't know what to call it, we just zoom out as far as we can until we find a term to call it that somewhat makes sense.
Yes. And that's the danger of labeling,
Yeah,
because what you do has its own specific label, and you can't combine it with other things because you lose the value of what it is that you're doing.
yeah, yeah,
It's not a cult phenomena, it's not a trend, it goes so much more deep than that.
yes,
Damien, so have you ever had anyone come to you and ask you to use a pet's blood or animal blood? And if so, what's the difference on how you use it? Damn, Damien, you're firing some good ones
yeah.
tonight.
I like them.
Yay.
Um, I have I mean, I've been reached out to about animals' blood. When the time had passed, I had personally used my own animal's blood. Um, is there a difference? That depends on the person.
Mm-hmm.
If they want it to be a difference, I can. If not, I will connect and etc. as deep and go from there. Now I haven't necessarily experimented with connecting to an animal's blood, and I'm actually thank you for the inspiration. because now
Reciprocity.
I'm like interested in that experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was
Mhm.
just thinking that. I wasn't even thinking about the bonding of animals, but for someone who's got that pet that is it is their family member, their bond is so deep with that pet. You could work through grieving, you could work through so many different things like that, that
Yeah.
it would be that
And
would be
actually,
phenomenal healing for everything. You could do
yeah.
so much with that. Even jewelry. I mean, you stop and think about, always having the pet on you, and she does all kinds of jewelry, by the way, people. She
Okay.
doesn't do just like basic jewelry.
And one of my really good friends um is a taxidermist, was practicing, has taken a break for a while, but she has actually prepared our cat's heart, hide, and bones to be articulated again. And so that's just super cool as well. So I mean, she
Oh,
can do the
that's neat.
process. I can do the jewelry. Hey guys.
That is so cool.
Yeah, she's the one who has like prepared the wet specimens that I bring to the events for wildlife fundraising. And so,
Oh, that
mhm.
is so neat. So you see here, you just branched out and didn't even. That's neat. Bring your pets, and you get to keep them in all forms and wear them next to your heart and everything else. That's
Yeah,
beautiful, because our pets are so important. Um,
yeah,
I'm gonna butcher this name, Gangiana. We use blood and milk for nourishment of familiar spirits. Yes, left as an offering. Lots of uses depending on your practice, I suppose. Absolutely. Well, in
yeah,
your voodoo and your Santeria and Ifa, yeah, blood is used, and milk and other body fluids as well. Yes. Forged and found. Norma, you honor me. Aw. This has been, Carol says, absolutely beautiful. This has been a great
oh,
conversation, because it's not something that you see on every pod. It's not someone that you know all around. I think it's really neat to have Norma on here tonight, because what she does to me is so important. What she does, the skill that she has, and we all have our own specialties in mediumship or whatever we do, but to have the privilege of working with someone's life source is a whole different level of connection.
yeah, yeah. And it's you know, as you're talking, it's like the ride of getting here or even coming to this place is just wild, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were so many times, as I feel like a lot of us, that I didn't know if I was doing the right thing or not, and I heard a lot of unsavory things,
Mm-hmm.
um, and etc. And I'm like, I just don't know if it's worth it. But then I would talk to someone, they'd be like, you know what? I did some research about that. Or, oh yeah, I talked to this person about this. And I'm like, okay, so it's like getting a conversation started. This is something to continue.
Yes,
This is
absolutely.
important. Because in this, it's also healing the feminine wounds and bringing that like empowerment back. And there's like talk about the collective having like these huge masculine and feminine shifts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how that is external, but that's also that it's all internal, really, and it's the shifting of our own masculine and feminine energies, and how we're lashing out, how our masculinity is lashing out by feeling threatened instead of nurtured because
By
their
our
wound
own
hurt.
feminine. Yes.
Yeah, so then
Yes.
like the feminine tries to nurture it, and it's like ow, because it's still a wound and it's pain, and so then it's like that uh natural, completely raw human response and reaction within ourselves, and like how it's like this like battle going on, and it's exciting because it's all changing, right?
And people change every day. That was, I think,
Yeah,
one of the greatest points you made is like our blood changes every day. It depends on what music we're listening to, what kind of people we're around, what kind of things have happened to us the night before, and even if we slept the night before. And what did we put into our bodies? Because if you're putting a bunch of crap and shit in your body, you're going to feel like crap and shit, and your blood's going to react like crap and shit. And there's,
yeah,
I mean, there's no polite way to put that. We are what we eat.
yeah,
And our
yeah.
blood source becomes that, and that's the nourishment for everything.
And
And
so much of the um it's like we have forgotten that we can control and cleanse what we put into our bodies. That we have like the power and the authority over these materials, that I will take the nourishment and the rest will leave.
mm-hmm.
And that we have truly forgotten like the power that we have in, or not the power, the authority that we have in our spaces.
Good
And
wording there again. The authority. Yes.
yeah, and that it's
Clear
like, this
down to
is
what you're
for my health.
buying. Clear
Yeah,
down to what you're buying in the grocery store to put in your mouth. People say, well, that's all we've got is this. No, it isn't. Make your own.
right, right.
Take the time to learn to make your own, grow your own. It
Yeah,
may cost more money, it may take more time, but doing those things to make that healthy change makes a
mhm,
difference. Damien
yeah,
says, I know crushed mummy remains mixed with paints as art, but you don't hear much of blood work being done. No, you don't. And it is a taboo topic, and then
yeah.
you get into, like I said, the menstrual blood, the animal blood. Um, Ganjiana mentioned the offerings of blood for spirits. Even that's a taboo topic in the United States. I mean, you don't go up and say, what's your animal source for this, or what are you using for that? It's a very personal thing, and it's hush hush because people don't want to. It's just not something we talk about in this country.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, is there a diet you'd suggest to someone before you take or use the blood that helps with its ease of use or raw state better?
I mean, truly less sugary foods. I mean, but there's also something about the authenticity of it.
Right.
Of
You're
like,
getting the person's true status when they don't change
right,
things.
right. So I'm like, don't fix your hair and makeup for me, because I'm trying to see what's under the makeup. Like that's like what we're working for. Like that's what where it's at to be addressed. And so just as normal is authentic and preferred.
Right. I think, to me, it would make sense to as a client of hers, to go in with that meditational openness that you want
Hmm.
the purpose, whatever your intentions are, to be transmuted through the blood so that she can read that. I think
Hmm.
intentional setting would be more important than making any other changes, and that she knows your intentions and that you know your intentions, and put that in your blood.
Hmm. And see like where the intention and the actual, um, like to see if they're on the same page, like to see if they're
Right.
at the same level, or like what needs to be tweaked to allow easier flow.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, this is something that um, I felt like I have experienced in more than just this lifetime, and that um, uh, I have been killed for it as well, right?
Yes.
And I think that's like a part of like the scariness of like coming out and like actually talking about it, because it was something that was like so hush hush and um, essentially invite only, right? Um, it's like now it's like it's time. Like, it's time. Like, why is the suffering that is not ours continuing when there is like so much more for us to do right now? Like, our earth and our environment, like our home, needs healing. How are we gonna do that when we're just like all shot up, like bleeding all over the place, wounded, you know? Because it's like coming to this point of like this clearing is important and this integration. Otherwise, we're not going to have a home anyways. And I hadn't really thought about it like that until this moment. Because I've just known that it has felt important for others and for us, right? As a collective. But I did not realize that it was like that until now. So
A lot of amazing gifts come through these shows. I have had so many ideas and so many things that have clicked. That, you know, you do this day in and day out, and you do these things, and then all of a sudden somebody will say something, and it's like the light bulb goes on, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
There's always a reason.
Yeah.
Damien says, would you cleanse or do a ritual before or after an artwork so that everything energy wise is contained in that image and doesn't hang around?
I would incorporate the ritual into the artwork. Whether as the ritual being performed over the artwork instead of parchment, the incantation, and then either having that part on the back or that part as the base, along with protection, personalized protection sigils, etc., and then the painting over top, whichever the person would prefer. But that feels nice. That feels flowing.
Mm-hmm. And closed when you're done, then, because that affirmation that when you're complete, that energy train stops and
Activated.
Right.
Yeah.
And doesn't stick around and hang out.
Right.
And,
well,
and Supernatural. Yeah. Miss Katie from Supernatural Inc. says, that's right. You know, you be you. We don't need other people's approval. We don't.
Yeah.
We used to.
Yeah, we
Past
used
lives,
to.
it was very important. I mean, I think we did what we did, but I think it didn't always, it got us killed in multiple lifetimes doing what we do. This has been a really intense, informative conversation. I so appreciate you being on. This has been, I think we need to do a round 2.
Okay, right on.
With some art or something. We're gonna have to figure this out and do some talking, because I think that people have had a lot of questions, and please continue to type your questions and we will get them answered, even if we're going off air. We've gone an hour and 21 minutes, and I thank you guys. Where's your next show? Where are you going to be?
I will be in Dallas at the Wellness Expo. And then after that, I believe at Enchanted in Conway.
In March?
And yes, in March. And my favorite little event that I go to is downtown Art Walk, first Friday of every month, and I'm at the Clubhouse. And so, ta-da!
And you're on social media?
Yes, I'm on social media. Email me, message me, etc. I have just it's just so lovely to talk to you. Like, it's just
so fun.
Such a good vibe. I just I'm very appreciative.
I love this. Wonder if planetary alignment in February will have an impact on 2025 workings. Oh, I think there's definitely going to be more energy and more creativity.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot more of that, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I can't wait, and I can't wait to see you in March and wherever else, because we're gonna be talking. And if anybody has any questions or they want to reach out to get Facebook pages or anything, hit me up and I'll send you to Norma. And Norma, thank you so much for this
Thank you so much.
wonderful conversation, and thank you viewers for being on and for hanging with us through this. And love to you all, and you go to bed and get some sleep now, and I'm gonna go eat.
Same. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that sounds great. It is, yeah, about that time.
It is about that time, and love to you guys.